Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. We got Sukamon versus Mirage Gaogamon from the Fanboy 3 locals. Camera's a little bit off because we're testing out new table positions, but it'll be fixed for future weeks. Starting to get more and more new faces at the locals, but these two actually frequently face off. And the blue matchup's certainly a very difficult one for Sukamon. Plenty of bouncers that skirt your on deletion abilities. This black base is actually, both these decks are getting ready for Ultimate Cup, and at the time of recording Ultimate Cup still hasn't happened yet, so these two players still revising their decks. The Sukamon player has actually played in the online one. As always, I do like to remind people that if you are enjoying the content, it takes a lot of work, so if you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, and we'll get onto the video. One cost Digivolution in the back for Jellymon. But we're not seeing many Sukamons in hand. Just going to swing in that first Jellymon, and we're going to drop a Mucky to look for an actual Sukamon piece. Can't take any Tapirmon, but the two-color Digimon is going to scoop up the Essamon, which is still kind of unfortunate because we're still missing those pieces that they need. We do have the Mirage Gaogamon out, so we can Digiburst 2. Which will bounce the Jellymon back to hand. If they were playing around, it probably could have just, honestly, could have just swung it in. A little bit of unfamiliarity with cards like this. But the new Mirage Gaogamon going to bounce security to hand, which actually is going to give a little bit more to work with. As we do get the two-color Sukamon. I'm going to go for Cutie's Kick. Never mind, actually, no, it must not be a Sukamon. It's going to hit the Nikolai, so not going to die. Oh no, we do have the... Oh, it's a Jellymon. Jellymon kind of awkward here because it is going to cost more thanks to the Mirage Gaogamon punishing you for having more cards in hand. So we're going to reduce the cost of DG Dimension by 1 since we do have a Tamer out. But it's not going to pop the ultimate directly underneath. Jellymon in the back. Going to be giving you the draw 1 when you play a Tamer if it's on the field, and also we'll be bouncing those level 3s back to hand every time cards are added to the owner's hand. So Mirage Gaogamon player, whilst they are down as far as security goes, they're certainly in the stronger position. Just not seeing those Sukamons, so we're not really seeing those floats that we need to see. I'm sure it is tempting to swing over the Jellymon, but with the Cutie's Kick still in effect, it is a dangerous thing to get rid of by deletion. Luckily, they're playing blue, so they certainly have plenty of opportunities to just get rid of the card without having to actually swing into it and delete it. 5 mem to play with. And they're going to build up a Mirage Gaogamon. This one, the new one that gives blocker. But it's going to be chilling for now. Also the +2 KDP. But it's just going to be a 7k body when coming out. Ideally, you're using the old Mirage if you're building up in the back. There is one of our Sukamons. And we're going to use the blue memory boost. We're just going to leave that Jellymon to just chill. And speaking of, another rat in the back. Still looking for that source. And I feel like at this point you just have to swing at security. Just try and chip them down. They're going to go for the DG Dimension instead, which is going to clear the body. But they've just left this available. They have plenty of memory. We're going to see the Bibi Thunder as well. Bounces the Jellymon back to hand, and because they have a Jellymon in source, the Tamer goes back as well. And that is really rough. This is why I definitely should have swung in just to try and get a little bit more on the board. Actually, if they'd played aggressively, then they've left 2 security checks that were on the board. They could be staring down lethal potentially if they'd managed to just be a little bit more aggressive, play around this bounce. Since they do have 8 or more cards in hand, they can unsuspend a Gaomon with the Thomas H. Norstein, and that's going to be swinging in for yet another comfortable check. New Thomas does come down, which is going to keep turn, and we're going to crack the memory boost and swing in again. No more Thomases to tap though, and they don't quite have the memory to drop a third one. It does not matter, they can choke to 1 with the Gaomon, and now things look very, very comfortable for Mirage. Just 1 memory to play with, no cost reducers. think the only out here is another DG Dimension. This deck does run 4. But the problem is as well, they can't even swing, because if they swing and the body dies, then they don't have a source in order to drop the option card. So they are going to just DG Dimension for the full cost. It's going to de-digivolve down to the Quadramon and then pop 2 bodies 6k or less. Or 6 cost or less rather. But unfortunately it's going to be a hybrid. And we are going to be starting off game at number 2, a hybrid to close things out. And this time to open things up, we once again see a Tumon. This one going to cost 1 and pass over turn. The Veemon in response. And we are going to go into the Gaogamon. So, back over with 2 memory to play with, but the Tumon is going to be reducing the cost of any Sukamon Digivolutions by 1, meaning we're not actually going to be passing turn straight back over with the champion. Instead, we are going to be keeping turn and going for the Parabolic Junk to swing in and die. On deletion, reveal top 3 to look for anything in the line, and the Pagamon is also going to let us check the top card of the deck, and then play a Tumon suspended off of its inherit. So this would allow to set up for another Sukamon if there was another Sukamon in hand, but it looks like we're just a little bit shy of it, so we're going to drop the Garamon to trash 1 and then look for another piece. We'll draw 2 off of it, so we are going to see the Methaletamons there, which means they're not going to be able to float into them later. But more importantly, we're just not seeing the level 4s. Davis is going to come down for 4. And is going to get that level 6 in hand. A new Tumon there. And they could just Digivolve. But no, they're going to go for the Parabolic Junk. And we're going to drop a Cooties Kick for 2. Swing in, trying to get massive memory. But no, it's another Tamer this time. Kind of not respecting that there were a bunch of Tamers in the last game. You've seen the Davis, you've seen the Thomas, you've seen the Nikolai. There's clearly a lot of Tamers that play into this blue stack. And now they don't get to keep turn on the Etamon. Although I guess they won't keep turn on the Etamon anyway, but at least this kind of maximizes memory a little bit better. Not having the level 4s is clearly a huge problem. But there is obviously the problem of this Tumon can't be swung over as much as it would be tempting. Parabolic Junk will be a problem. So instead, they're just going to Digivolve for 3. This is the one that gains blocker and does gain the extra DP for every 8 cards in hand. So they're going to swing at security. And then because they have a Tamer in play, they can bounce to level 3. They are going to hit into the 7k Etamon, but because of the when Digivolving, they have gained the DP, which keeps them safe. That really is unfortunate there for Sukamon. There could have at least been a chance to kind of just trade things out. Mirage Gaogamon still trading as far as security is concerned, but they're going to be fixing that right now. Mirage Gaogamon will Digivolve, bounce the Etamon to hand. Doesn't get to bounce the security as a result, but will gain the memory back off of the Sukamon going back to hand. I don't know how they play around this. At 2 memory, they don't exactly have a massive lead on how they can do things. If they were to try and drop the Tumon, it would just get bounced back straight away, so they have to go up to level 4 at minimum. They have frequent bouncing on those level 3s. Sukamon going to come down for 2. And then we're going to go in to the Etamon for 3. This one is a natural blocker, and when deleted, it gives you the chance to check top 5 and float into a level 6 with Etamon in name. Obviously, we've seen 2 Metal Etamons in the Sukamon player's hand already. So there's not a huge amount left available, but it will at least keep the security clear for a little bit. And there's a real big chance to float into other things. But then again, that is only if it is deleted. There's plenty of ways of getting rid of it. And Kakaitis Press dropping for 7 certainly is an easy way to get around it. Bounces the Etamon back to hand. And that is going to get rid of the rest of it. Then, because cards were added back to hand, and they are at 8, they will gain back 2 memories. So, Mirage Gaogamon once again stalling things out perfectly. You could just try dropping the Etamon again. Gaogamon's really expensive. And we're just going to go for Digidimension instead. The problem with Digidimension in this situation is all it does is get rid of the Mirage Gaogamon, but it doesn't actually clear the stack. Now a second one obviously would, but you've got 2 level 5s here. Both of them do have that, like, on Digivolve aggression, but we're not actually seeing too much consistent pressure out of them. Like, this Mirage Gaogamon effectively is a vanilla now. The new one does have the extra DP and does have blocker, which would at least prevent chip damage, and the Gaomon searches, finds the Mirage, and that makes things incredibly difficult now for Sukamon, because even if you do have a Digidimension, you're not going to be able to clear all 3 stacks, and it is going to bounce a Digidimension to hand, so now right on cue. I feel like you just keep the Gaogamon in the back. I'm not sure whether they would push this out so that way they can try and play for cycle next turn, or whether they just keep it safe and try and not have another thing bounce. They're tied at 3 security each. And just 1 memory, like no matter what you're doing, there just isn't a lot. There's not really any Sukamons in hand either, so you can't sec -1 anything really. The Thomas would help something restand. The problem is you want to get cards out of hand as well. We're just going to drop the Digidimension with the Gaogamon in the back. So it's going to de-digivolve 1, 3 things, and then it's going to pop the 2 6 cost or less. It's a good job that the Gaomon did actually find the Mirage without passing turn. The memory gains back off of the bounce was actually huge. It's the difference between them passing turn with the Gaomon and not. Gonna play a Nikolai, which is going to give the jamming on this attack. Doesn't need it, swings into the Gaomon. Gonna restand off the Thomas. And we're just gonna keep the aggression going, gonna hit into a Digidimension. And they do get closed out. Actually didn't need to give jamming, and they chose not to, they just were planning to swing in. So now they're in a pretty comfy position, 1 security left, just a Gaomon in the back. And even if the Sukamon floats, you would be unlikely to find another blocker. So they just need to find 2 attacks before they get swung over. Akumamon's certainly going to make things nice and easy. They're going to swing in and put on lethal. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. We're going to swing for a second Kumamon. So Mirage Gaogamon going to take this matchup 2-0. This is the Ultimate Cup list that both these teams were bringing. And as once again, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.